Hi, Sehar. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where have you been and where are you right now?
I'm Sehar Jain. By profession, I am a therapist and a counselor. I stay in Bombay. I've been married for now 10 years almost, and I have a 4.5-year-old son and a baby number two on the way very soon. So, definitely an exciting yet nervous yet anxious phase.
Congratulations. And I have met your first kid and he's super naughty. So he's quite
He is,
handful. Yes.
he is. So now we're going to need more hands than we actually have. So let's see how that works.
I'm sure it'll work out all well. Right now, we are talking for Saahas Ka Safar. Saahas Ka Safar is a celebration for everyday courage. So, if you can share at certain times in your life where you felt that I didn't realize I could do this, or going through certain states and you are like, oh no, what is going to happen now? What will I do? And you got out of those situations. So, if you can share something.
One of the things would definitely have been shifting my entire life to Palghar about 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, almost 2019. And because I think COVID was just, or 2020, when COVID just hit, shifting there because my husband's work was there. And it's a small little village. It had electricity issues, it had transport issues, travel issues, food restrictions. Not everything was available there. Nothing was 24/7 for sure.
You have been a Delhi, Bombay girl. You have traveled around the country while growing up.
Yeah, always had amenities, electricity, great like apartments to stay in, friends around, access to everything. And that's something I've been brought up with always. I mean, you go for a holiday to some place which is remote and for a little bit of peace, or you go on a trek and you have like limited supplies and resources, so you make do. That's like 3 days. I think in that moment it just sounded, oh, fun. Let's see where that goes. Like it was like, oh, chalo, this is a new adventure we're on, and um, let's explore this. And sure, it's a little hard. हाँ ये खाने नहीं मिल रहा है, या दिन भर light नहीं है, या there's one storm and we had no power for 3 days. So we were just stuck indoors because, and there's no food delivery system. There's nothing there. I think the first ever signal on their main street came when we were still living there.
Wow.
There was no access unless you walked up to a particular place and things like that. So it was really a small village that we moved to in 2019 and stayed there till 2023. Shan was born in 2021 November. By 2022 Feb, we were back there. So I was in Bombay only for about 2 or 3 months, and then took a tiny little baby back to that village with the same issues, with no help, completely figuring it out on our own. And that phase I remember being incredibly hard. Like it was very, very hard. And we were aware that things were hard, but it just didn't seem like there was any other option. So I guess one type of courage is just you go for it and you figure it out along the way, right? Because what else? What else can you do? You can't sit back or cry about it or wait for something to get better, right? You just figure it out, you make the mistakes, and you move on. Sagar and I grew as parents because it was just the two of us relying on each other for like the first 1.5, 2 years of my son's life. Even the smallest of things would feel very intimidating or feel overwhelming at times. But we just had each other to rely on. We figured it out we came up with our own system. We came up with our own means of doing something. I mean, I remember there was this, it sounds awful, but we had this tally going on about in whose presence has he fallen down more. It was just one of those things that, I mean, I get it. All babies fall. You leave them for 2 seconds, they fall off the bed, they jump out of their crib. And Shan was an extremely active baby, and he continues to be extremely active even now. So you can imagine what he was like at 8 months when he started crawling or standing. And it's horrible as a feeling as a parent when you see your child fall and get hurt. Like if he's hurt his lip, it's bleeding, or if he's just fallen on his head, you don't know if he's going to be fine or not. And now I know all babies fall and get hurt, so it's okay. But in that moment, it was horrifying. And instead of blaming or fighting about that, oh, you should have been paying more attention, it just became like a light-hearted competition that, okay, who's got the higher score of in whose presence has he fallen down more. And this is just an example of how we dealt with the hard times. We tried to make light of things and not blame each other for it. I think it could have gone in that direction as well, whether anger could have come out, fear could have come out. This was one of our ways of not letting that come in the way.
Lovely. So you figured out a way to lighten, as you said, the movement and to keep your spirits high, otherwise it gets really scary and you can start cribbing that, oh, we need more people to help us, or why am I in this city? Why am I away from my parents? Any specific incidents, like if something which did not happen as you had hoped it would, some disappointment?
A lot of things didn't happen like we hoped it would because everything was such a first time for us, especially when you have your first child. Everything changes, everything, and it's nothing that you could have prepared for. No matter how prepared you are, there's so much unknown that there's always going to be things that can go wrong and do go wrong, right? And the thing is, in that moment, the frustration is so high, the resentment is just, it's just there. Then why do I have to take the load for all of this? Why can't you do this? Or hey, this is your job, things like that. Or I'm tired too, or I haven't slept. So the whole thing, it's, you're just in a place where you're physically, mentally exhausted. So you're not in a good place to really nurture a relationship as such. And even though it's understandable, and both Sagar and I were giving each other a lot of grace in terms of कि हाँ ठीक है, it's a phase, we will get through it, and we're not intentionally blaming each other, but that anger comes, and it comes out at times when you're like on the edge, ready to snap. One of the things that was really big that we kept reminding ourselves always, we are a team. Obviously, when you get your first child, you get like advice from 1,000 people who've dealt with something similar before, right? Including your parents, and they mean well. Always, I'm sure everyone means well, but not all advice applies to you. So I think that distinction of understanding what applies to us and what doesn't, or what's the right way for us to do it, the motto that we had, and we've had that motto since a while now, is we are a team. It's you and I against anybody else. It's not you versus me ever. Even if it is parents, it's never going to be your parents and my parents, or your work is coming in the way, or whatever. Like it was, we would deliberately and consciously say this: we are a team, let us be on one same side. Even if we disagree on something, we're still on the same side. And we're never going to use this language, which is like, yours. That shouldn't happen. And we be deliberate about that. So that was, I think, one of the things that prevented us from allowing something to spiral out of control. Mistakes to hui hai, so of course you do things wrongly because you didn't know any better. But what could have gone really wrong is our relationship, because again, we didn't have anybody. There was no buffer. It was COVID. We were just with each other 24 hours. You're just in the same space for the whole time. It can get overwhelming. Then you put a child into the whole mix and you have to deal with that also now on your own. So lots of things could have gone wrong. I think one of the things that we were very deliberate about was this motto. It's we are a team was the motto. And we need to remind ourselves of that sometimes. I think that was one of the things that I feel like helped us not make one of the biggest mistakes when it came to our relationship.
So friendship between...
More than friendship, teamwork.
Teamwork.
Because it's sometimes you don't like your spouse. You don't want to really be their friend at that moment. And there were moments like that, like, I'm not liking you at all right now. Okay. But I'm still going to stick to you because we're a team. Right. I don't like your tone. I don't like what you're saying. I'm angry with you, but I'm reminding myself that we're still a team. So I think it's not always friendship, because I clearly remember times when we don't like each other, or we don't necessarily want to be in each other's company. And that's okay. But that doesn't stop us from still being a team, and we can still work together. Our goal is still the same. Okay, we still want best for the son right now. Okay, what do we do about it? I don't like you. I don't like your tone. Keep all of that aside. But what does he need right now? And what can we do about it? Or this problem has happened. One of the parents has said something and it was offensive. Okay, how do we deal with it? You don't want to talk to them. Okay, I will talk to them about this boundary that we need to set, Okay, so that's how you're taking over, but it's more than friendship. Because I don't think friendship is always enough. I think this is teamwork.
Right. So I see there were two challenges. One, you were staying away from city, forget about away from family, friends, everything. You were not even in a city. And you have always, both of you have been city people. And then you had a kid and the challenges that come with an infant, not even a grown-up kid. So how did you take care of yourself? I understood you have spoken at length about your relationship with your husband and how you did things together. But there would have been times when you would want to do things for yourself. So what were those times and what did you do? How did you manage that?
So I don't think I did. And that I think is a mistake that happened. Is for 2.5 years, I remember losing myself completely. I became a different person. And I know that very clearly because I know my husband used to say that a lot, that this is not who you are. And I think, I don't know how it works or what changes in the brain chemistry. I literally don't remember parts of myself anymore. And it could have been chronic lack of sleep, because I don't think I slept for more than 2.5 hours at a stretch at night on any night for the first 2 years of after having Shan. So I think one of the things that changed with that was I did not have any time because there was no capacity to, more than that, there's no scope or resource to do anything. If I wanted to step out, there was nothing to do to step out. Perhaps if we were in the city, and I think this second time around with this new baby, I might have that opportunity to leave the baby behind with someone and even just go and meet a friend because that resource is available here. Or just to go to take a walk in a park or just distract myself with something outside of home and home relationships. In Palghar, there was no opportunity for that either. In the sense, even if someone was able to take over and say, okay, I look after him for a couple of hours, there's nowhere I'm going. There's nothing to do there beyond home. I mean, there would be days, 15, 16 days when I've not stepped out of the house to do anything because there is nothing to do. And that I think was hard. So I don't remember prioritizing myself in any way or being able to do the things that I wanted to do. Honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted to do or what would help, because like I said, nothing was available. Maybe if I had a friend, I'd say, okay, chalo, at least I want to meet my friend and I'm not able to. Or I wanted to be able to go for a walk, but I'm not able to, I'm stuck. But I didn't even know what I could possibly have done. And within the same house, even if I've sent him to a different room and I'm in another room, it's not the same thing. There's no unwinding happening because then I feel like there are 10 other things I'm doing that I wasn't able to do because I was, nap trapped with the baby sitting on me. So I don't think I did anything for myself for 2.5 years. And that did have a huge impact even till now. Like like I said, there are times I don't remember. Sagar brings up certain instances and things I said to him or something that we used to do or some memory, and I don't have that memory. Then I'm not making it up and I'm not pretending to not remember it, but I genuinely don't remember it. And I don't know how or how much that has got suppressed, probably.
It happens with me as well, especially when there's a phase of life where there is something which you want to forget and you forget other things around it which were actually harmless and nothing, but because you want to forget that chapter, you forget a lot of things around that as well. So yeah, it happens. So if you were to look back at that time, if somebody else is in the exact same situation as you, or you go back in time to yourself, would there be anything different that you would do, or would you like to give some advice?
I guess one of the things that's coming to me is I think I set very idealistic standards based on what I should be doing as a new mom. And I think you never are able to achieve those kind of standards with anyone, and now I feel like I could have gone a lot easier on myself and not pushed so hard. In that expectation, I think the bigger exhaustion was I expected certain things to happen in a certain way, and when they didn't, I looked at that as a personal failure. And there was no one blaming me per se. No one's telling me what to do, right? Because no one was there in the first place. But it was, I think, just based on things I was reading, like a lot of prenatal coaches, a lot of books that are on parenting and motherhood, at least for the initial few months, do talk about things that are ideal without mentioning that they are ideal standards and not necessarily achievable. That's the problem. Like for example, the prenatal coach I had, she was great in terms of like the exercise I was able to do and keeping me fit throughout pregnancy. She focused entirely on a natural birth. She assumed that with all her exercises, nothing could go wrong. And of course, you'll be able to feed the baby. It'll take some time, but you should be able to do it, this is the tactic, this is the theory, this is the technique. I'm here to help you. Nothing of that sort happened when I delivered. Nothing of that sort happened when I started feeding my baby. The challenges I faced, I had no clue about. And it's one thing to not have a clue, that's fine. But in my head, I had set that expectation that it's either this or something's wrong with me. It's either this or not, So I think that standard that was there, that emotionally broke to a point where I felt that there was no coming back from that. I had a support system in my parents constantly telling me that it's not a big deal. Relax. Babies are going to grow anyway. He's going to be fine. There's no right or wrong way to give birth. I think that is something I might change next time around, which is not be so hard on myself. And I have already been a lot more relaxed throughout the pregnancy as well. Not taken a lot of things seriously, not Googled every little tiny symptom, and I probably won't do that after the baby is born either. That why is this happening and why is that happening and what can I do about it? And oh my God, now he's not eating. All babies don't eat. All babies, all these milestones. Oh my God. I mean, I think I'm not going to have that app this time around to check if at 3.5 months he's reached this, point where he can sit straight or not. I don't think I'm going to do that this time around at all. But that was a lot of pressure. That was a lot of pressure to see, okay, is my child growing according to the milestones? Even though you're aware it's a range, even though you're aware that it's possible that it doesn't happen according to that. But like I said, all books tell you the ideal standard, but then they don't tell you that that is the ideal.
So what recommendation you would have is that don't be so hung up on the things that society is expecting from you, or certain books are expecting certain things to be reached.
Yeah.
If you're finding yourself in a situation where you are alone and you need some support structure, but you don't have, it's not there, and you're facing some new challenge. It could be a kid, it could be a job, it could be just getting newly married to someone, or whatever that is. Everyone has different challenges. So it's very important to remember that you need to remember yourself. Don't forget yourself in the whole scheme of things. And B, don't be so hard on yourself trying to live up to expectations of others, and more importantly, your own expectations, the thing that you have built up in your head.
I mean, just like ask yourself, is this useful? Is this really my narrative or is it somebody else's? Is this coming, where is this coming from? I'm saying that, okay, I set these standards for myself, but I got it from somewhere, right?
Right.
I got it from a book. I got it from an example that somebody else gave. These weren't my personal experiences first time around. So just to ask myself that, is it somebody else's experience that I am depending on, or is it mine? Okay, so mine is different and it's allowed to be different. It's allowed to be. So just to ask yourself these two questions, that is it, who's saying this? Who said this?
Right.
Do I want to really listen to them, or do I need to listen to them? And the next thing is, it's not about right, wrong, good, bad. Unfortunately, that is what society gives us. The better question to ask is it useful for me? So asking these two questions is something I think will really help, or would have helped if I could go back. And it's definitely something that I'm going to be taking with me from like this onwards.
I remember meeting you there. I'd visited once, and we had visited Sagar's factory, and it was a good time. And you have this beautiful brand now, Shine with Sehar. It's a lovely concept of where you're trying to help people shine their own light in a way. And you love this word shine, and you had started up with some notebooks that you were doing at that time. There was some part of you which was parallelly still trying to express herself. You had a big orchard that you made, and there were trees that you planted and all of that. So tell us a little bit more about that part where you were still trying to maybe express yourself, give your voice, do something. And if it was not working, then how was that? And if it worked, how did it feel? Like, what was all that all about?
I used to have this mentor who used to say things like, in whatever situation you're in, shine your light. And he used to say this very often, like go out there and just shine your light, whatever that is, how much ever that is. So shine your light. And I used to really find that it's like a very nice visual to feel that, okay, the situation could be bad, person in front of you could be reacting very badly, or it's not going your way. But take a moment and just shine that light and be so positive about it that it doesn't matter anymore. Or rise above it, that problem doesn't matter anymore. Now, theoretically, this sounds great. Practically, sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. But I'm a very visual person. So for me to have something in mind that I can imagine saying, okay, what am I doing to this problem? Oh, I'm shining on it. I'm sending out this light, I'm shining on it, and I'll find a solution. Or, okay, I need to breathe because, oh my God, I'm so angry with this person or this situation. What do I do? Okay, I'm just gonna like shine this light on myself or around me. So I think it's a practice that started, and then it became, okay, what do I need to do to be able to do that? Do I need to breathe? So then let me learn what that means. I realized, okay, when I'm out in nature or I'm touching the mud and the earth and planting these trees and planting those vegetables, I feel replenished. That helps me, or that environment helps me. So, or I'm at the beach and I can see the sea or I can feel the sand. Just to figure out, okay, if I need to shine, what do I need to do to replenish that internal light? Let's call it that. That's when these things started. And books just was like a natural progression because that's the business we're in, that's the factory that we have. Having said that, shine overall, and even now, everything that I'm constantly trying to work on, it comes from a space where I feel, okay, if this is a challenge, how would I deal with it in a way that respects my value system? And that's not always been easy because everybody has different value systems or you have different situations. But what are the things that I'm not willing to compromise on? What are the things that I am standing by in terms of my values? And then using that to shine, or helping other people also realize that that's all you need to do. Just come back home to your value system. Again, the same two questions. Just every time asking, is this my story or did I hear it somewhere else? You know, is it me? And if it's not me, I'm going to drop it. But to bring that awareness, that is that journey of shine. And what will it take to bring that awareness? So then, like I said, whether it is harvesting vegetables on the farm or it is taking a deep breath and learning about breath work, I mean, it could be either of those things that help me get there. And then that is what I bring out through Shine with Sehar as well on the online platforms or when I'm meeting somebody one-on-one.
So two questions you mentioned. One is it me or is it picked up from somewhere else? And second is it useful?
Yeah, this is a very big thing. I mean, would this be right for me? Is it okay to do this? Is this a good thing to do? Am I being a bad person? Am I being selfish? Because these are things that really come out over time. But just to sort of put that aside and say that there is no right, wrong, good, bad, it is all subjective. Just to keep asking yourself, is this useful? Is this behavior useful? If not, okay, drop it. Is this habit useful? Drop it. Is this belief useful for me? If it is, keep it. And if it's not, drop it. It's not about good, bad, right, wrong. That's been like a huge shift for me.
You spoke about your value system. There was a point in life when I was all over the place. Then I kind of streamlined and I had to sit down and realize that, okay, these are my value systems. These are my non-negotiables. So when did that happen for you and how did you come to this conclusion that, yes, this is my value system and this is what I would like to follow?
One, I think it's a continuous process. I feel like there's been like multiple times where that's happened. And I feel like one of the things that it's very easy to check somebody's value system with what their priorities are or what they prioritize, and you can tell someone's priorities with their actions. You might say, for example, that my family is my priority, but through your actions, how much time are you actually spending with them? Or you will say, like honesty is a value for me. But do you prioritize honesty over comfort, convenience, kindness? Like in your actions, does it show? So that's how I try to live my life in that sense. So there are certain values that come up more than others. And a few of them, I mean, like I've mentioned honesty, that being one of the top value systems for me. Trust and respect being the others. I mean, there's something I joke about that I don't understand the concept of love. I mean, it's great to have, or that feeling is great, but when it comes to an actual relationship, if I were to define it, for me, it would be trust and respect. And if either of those two things are missing, I will not feel loved. There'll be something missing for me. And similarly, if I were to show you or tell you that I love you, it is because you can trust me and you will always have my respect. So I feel like I define it in that sense in any relationship. And if any of those two things are missing, then it's not unconditional love. It's not real love for me. That's my definition of it. So that's why those are my value systems. And I think they show up in times of when these values are challenged, right? I guess that, am I willing to compromise on that value or not? And I think a lot of that happened when we moved back from Palghar as well, in terms of family confrontations and stuff like that. That's where this came up, that, okay, integrity or respect is a big value for me. And if I don't feel it in an environment, no matter how close the family is, it's not something I'm willing to compromise on. Where I am not respected as a person, or I'm not respected as a mother, or my actions and decisions are not respected, then it is not something I am willing to compromise or tolerate, I realized. And it may have come across as being more than assertive. I think like maybe borderline aggressive, but I think that is how protective I am of my values. So a part of me feels that maybe I can handle situations better if I was calmer, maybe. But I feel like this entire thing about having strong values and protecting them is a large part of who I am.
Yeah, I personally believe that it's very important to know what matters to you. As you said, that, it's what you're prioritizing. And in other words, what your values are, what is important to you. And it's very important to fight for them and stand by them. And it takes a lot of courage, because the clashes don't happen with a stranger. They happen with people who are actually close to you. And the clashes that happen, it happens in a very personal way. When it's honesty versus respect versus this and that. So people who are very close to you are not able to either understand your values, and you have to assert in front of them, have those boundaries, have those conversations. And it gets difficult because of that. And that's why it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand by them.
And the courage part of it is the risk of not being accepted because you stood by your values, or the risk of being interpreted as whatever, aggressive, angry, bold, rude, and being okay with that. And I think that is the part that requires courage, not just standing by our values. Because it's not difficult for me to stand by my values, because it's so important. There's no way I can compromise on it. There's no way I'm going to be dishonest. You'll ask me a question, I can't not be honest with you. That's who I am. I will not compromise on trust and respect. I will show integrity by doing what I say and saying what I do. That's something I've lived by for so many years, that I am not going to be able to also compromise with it. So it's not hard for me to say that, oh, these are my values, because you'll see them in my actions every single day that way. But as you said, if I have to stand up for them at the risk of somebody not liking me as a person, and I think that's where it requires courage. Okay, now what is the story you're going to tell? How are you going to interpret this clash that took place? And am I okay with that? Or am I okay with not being liked? Am I okay with not being appreciated? Am I okay with people terming me as whatever because I stood by those values? Then yes. And then that is what takes the courage.
Any specific incidents? It can be from your college time or work now that you do, or family, that you can think of sharing with us.
I mean, I think I've always been like this, very strong-headed in terms of values. Like, even if I saw authoritative figures like teachers being unreasonable about something, I would always be the first person to stand up and say, this is not okay, or you can't do this, And in my head, it's supported with something that my intention is in the right place. And if that is there, then I'm not worried about whether you like me or not. And I think that's been like the standing rule that I've followed in terms of like, even, unreasonable rules about having to wear certain footwear to college when it's raining heavily. And I remember, telling the professors, it's not even possible. Like, I have to walk for 25 minutes to get to your class. I'm not going to wear closed footwear. It's pouring like mad, And he'd be like, no, you have to, and wear shoes and blah, blah, blah. And I've done silly things now, it looks silly. But like actually wearing shoes to his class and wetting the whole classroom because my shoes were wet. He refused to let me wear slippers to his class. And I thought it was unreasonable. I mean, we're not in school anymore. It's not a uniform. It's a college. And instead of looking at practicality and focusing on the subject and actually learning something, you're focused on what I'm wearing, And I thought that was silly. So, but you want me to follow your rule, I'll follow your rule. But hey, this is the consequence of it. So things like that. Or if teachers have ever been rude in terms of like condescending, and some are, and some can be. For me, that's breach of respect, right? I mean, in that sense. So just to let them know that it's not okay for you to talk to me that way. And I am treating you with respect, but only up until you deserve it, not just because you're like a figure of authority. But I know that doesn't come across nice always, and that's okay. Even in family settings, to let very close family members also know what rules I have for my son and that I would like you to follow them. I have on multiple occasions been called out at family functions for being too strict, for letting me know that my child will resent me when he grows up, that he might even hate me, that I am, being too much. I have been told like number of times on like public setting, family function, large number of people, or that, oh, you can't say this to Sehar because she will take this personally. And very much so. If you're talking about my son, I will take everything personally, and especially when I had this no sugar, no screen rule for the first 3 years of his life.
Oh, wow.
And I was very, very, very strict. Like there was zero compromise. We had not one day of him eating anything sweet, processed, or screen. And even now he's 4.5, but it's highly regulated in terms of the restrictions that are there and how much he's allowed to eat in terms of sweet and processed foods and screen time. And because this is something I see the consequences of in older kids again and again, I know the damage it can cause for short-term pleasure, which most definitely the child doesn't know. And the repercussions of that are so deep mentally and physically for children. And the other way around, not doing that, the benefits are far greater. But it requires a certain amount of discipline and reinforcement. It's easier to let the child do, let them watch or let them eat something sweet. It's okay. And of course, it's okay in moderation and once in a while. But I will decide the once in a while and the restriction, not somebody else, or somebody else stepping in and saying, oh, today's a holiday, let him eat, let him watch this today. It's not your child and you don't have to deal with the consequences tomorrow or 5 years later, right? I do. So being very, very strict about that. There have been multiple occasions when I have been told that I'm too strict, or why are you letting him miss out on all of this fun? You're no fun. So I'm okay being called all of those things if it means that I'm sticking to my values when it comes to my son. It continues to happen even now.
Yeah, you do need some kind of a little bit of a thick skin to be able to, again, these are standing up for your values and you're doing it so beautifully. And it is difficult, and it takes, as I said, that it takes a lot of courage to, stand by them. And these people who are calling you out and talking to you they are your dear ones. They are very close people to you. So yeah, it takes effort. Anything else would you like to share? Any other thought that you had?
I think it's great that you're providing this platform in terms of highlighting these moments, because I don't know about others, but I don't usually stop and think about how far I've come, or take a moment and appreciate the fact that those small moments did require courage. And it's okay to stop and applaud myself a little bit about it, or give myself a little bit of credit and saying, hey, good job. I don't know how many of us do that. And like I said, a lot of that courage is in retrospect. In that moment, you didn't think I am being courageous and I'm being so brave, I should be proud of myself. You're not thinking about any of that. In fact, you're doing something which you didn't have a choice doing, or you had to break through something and it was hard, but you came out of it. Once you come out of it, you're not analyzing or going back and checking any of that. We're not taking time out for that. So just having this space to reflect on those moments, I think I'm better for it now. So thank you for that. And I think I'm sure the people will feel the same, just reflecting on their moments of courage and bravery.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that, because yes, that's exactly the intention. All my life, I have downplayed things that I have done, and I've done quite a few things. And now in retrospect, I've like sat down and thought of those things and realized, oh wow, I did that. Really? So
yeah,
and I see a lot of people, and it's everyday courage. You don't need to be a hero in a film. It's your life, and you are your own hero of your own story. And it takes a lot of courage. Like, it's for me as important as climbing Mount Everest. Those who have, it's great that they did that. But all of us have our own personal little battles, little opportunities where we could have taken the beating, let go of our values, but then we chose to take a stand. And that itself is the Saahas ka Safar that all of us have. So yes, thank you so much for joining me for this chat.
Thank you for having me. This was great. And all the best for all the future ones as well.
Thank you.